So Mohammed Hijab, he's a political YouTuber who, you know, covers Palestinian issues. He was recently on Piers Morgan with Alan Dershowitz. So all I wanted to do was take a look at the debate because just seeing those two names next to each other, I was like, oh, that's gonna be good, especially with Piers Morgan. Like, I have to just admit when Pierce is good. So let's just go for this because yeah, this is going to be a good one.
What I'd like this to be is a civilized debate between two people with very strong opinions about this.
Wherever we see suffering, wherever we see death and destruction, assault, sexual assault, we see Dershowitz to the rescue, the former defense attorney of Jeffrey Epstein.
Mohammed, attacking a lawyer
Yes.
defending people is a stupid argument.
Stop looking at me when I'm speaking to you.
What's this got to do with Israel?
This shows you the bias in the coverage.
You're talking complete bullshit.
Should be arrested
Good
without
boy.
charge if you're
Good
held for
boy.
a security reason.
Pathetic. I'll tell you what, let me ask the question.
Sure.
Whoa, just based on these clips, this is going to be
Why
wild.
you guys try and debate it?
Why is this uncomfortable?
It's nothing to
Damn.
do with the debate.
Good
Why
info.
are you doing this, Mohammed?
Why not?
Because it's pointless. Well, if you didn't want to do a debate, don't agree to do it.
What's wrong with you? Why are you not looking at me again? You're crying. Are you crying?
No tears in my eyes. Is there any point in considering this? The events of the past year have shattered stability in the Middle East. Israel's war on Hamas, provoked by the atrocities of October the 7th, have led to the deaths of tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians. Prime Minister Netanyahu promised total victory and the complete destruction of Hamas. But 1 year on, Hamas is still firing rockets at Tel Aviv. 1 year on, 97 hostages remain in Hamas captivity. Very clearly, Israel's not fulfilled its stated aims in this war, and it continues to add new ones. It's now at war in Lebanon and on the precipice of a direct conflict with Iran. It has no plausible exit strategy in Gaza, where millions live in grief and under occupation. But it has, without question, decimated Iran's client militias. Hezbollah, the jewel in Iran's crown, has been decapitated. The question is whether that makes the Middle East and the world a safer or a more dangerous place. Can it really be said that Israel is winning this war? How big will this war get? And how much collateral damage and suffering can the world tolerate before enough is enough? This debate will examine the legality,
That last question was a good one because at some point, it's that's why everybody is getting involved the way that they are. They're just like, well, we want the ceasefire because we want to end the human suffering. Can we do this in a way where you're not just constantly bombing civilians? That's the biggest thing with Israel, which it is rich that you have fundamentalist Jews on, the war council and like guys like Ben Gvir, and they just blatantly ignored Judaism's tendency or tenets, towards violence, where they're just like, yeah, you're not supposed to seek out violence or retribution.
morality and the sustainability of the conflicts in the Middle East. Joining me are two of our most passionate advocates for their cause, the Muslim philosopher, scholar, and YouTuber Mohammed Hijab, and the lawyer and author Alan Dershowitz. Well, welcome.
I can tell you right now, he knows a lot more than me.
Both of you.
Damn.
You've been on twice before, Alan, many times. What I'd like this to be is a
Alan
civilized
sucks,
debate between
though.
two people with very strong opinions about this, obviously very different opinions,
Yeah.
where we try and reach potentially some points of agreement. Because so often with these debates, that seems almost impossible. Descends into a shouting.
I don't know, but Alan Dershowitz is just a reprehensible human being. This is a little different than your average debate.
Match. Everyone gets ad hominem. Everyone digs ever deeper into their trench, their tribe, and we don't get anything constructive out of it. I think you guys are smart enough to potentially, through spirited and passionate debate, agree about some stuff. And that is surely the first basis for how any of this eventually gets resolved. So let's hope for the best. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best, as they say. Alan Dershowitz, let me start with you. Israel, it seems to me, in the last 3 weeks, have massively ramped up their military offensive in a way that says to me that Prime Minister Netanyahu and his cabinet sense an opportunity to completely, in their eyes, sort out the Middle East problem once and for all, with Iran at the center of that problem. Is that how you see this?
Yes, I do. I see Iran as the head of the octopus sending out its tentacles through the Houthis, through Hamas, through Hezbollah. The tragedy, as we celebrate's a bad word, commemorate October 7th, is that if Sinwar and Hamas had the opportunity to do it again, knowing everything that followed, knowing all the deaths and disasters in Gaza and in Lebanon, I think Hamas would do it again, would do October 7th again, because they think they've won. They've turned college and university students against Israel. They have solidified the United Nations opposition to Israel.
So they think they've won just because they've turned the tide of ideas, but they've somehow ceded all, like, what, more than half their land and over 2 million people? What?
They've divided Americans, particularly the Republican administrations in the past, from the current Democratic administration. So Hamas cannot be allowed to have a victory growing out of October 7th any more than ISIS should have been allowed to have a victory going out of 9/11. So I think
That wasn't ISIS. Now you're just rewriting history. Like, sure, ISIS was created from us going into Iraq and into the Middle East, and then you could argue that we kind of created more cells by just by merit of being
the
there.
answer is yes, a military defeat for Iran and its surrogates, and a peace process between Israel and Saudi Arabia with steps taken toward the recognition of a two-state solution, which is the only reasonable solution that will solve the problem. But remember that October 7th was stimulated by the desire to prevent Israel and Saudi Arabia from creating a peace process following up from the Abraham Accords. And unless that peace process continues, and unless Hamas is told, no, you failed, the world will not reward you for this, we're just going to see a continuation of the bloodshed in the Middle East, which does not serve the interests of the Palestinians nor the Israeli people.
Okay, Mohammed Hijab, your response to that?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that wherever we see suffering, wherever we see death and destruction, especially of young people, assault, sexual assault, we see Dershowitz to the rescue, the former defense attorney of Jeffrey Epstein, a man himself accused
I
of
knew
rape.
we would get to that. I
didn't give you
Dude, that was, what the fuck? Right off the bat? I mean, dude, I hate the fact that Dershowitz kind of laid out like the case for this debate, and then immediately he goes to a personal attack. Like, again, I hate to go to like just basic high school like debate class, but yeah, you lost there if that's how you're starting it.
Permission to interrupt me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt.
Yo, dude.
I stayed quiet when you were talking.
Okay, here's what I would say.
I stayed quiet when you were talking.
Hang on. Here's what I would say.
To the merits.
I didn't give you permission.
Dude, this went off the rails like 4 minutes in.
What
the fuck? Yeah, 6 minutes.
Attacking a lawyer for defending people is a stupid argument.
Well,
right?
I'm not making an argument yet.
Well, you're just using that
I'm not making an argument.
attack straight off the top.
I've got leverage on you.
No. This isn't the gotcha that it... What the fuck is with this shit lately? Like, dude, where do you, like, just because, morally and, just objectively, your argument is correct. Less human suffering, and that means end the bombing campaigns on the Palestinian people and start, a little bit more humanitarian aid or whatever the fuck. But for him to lay out that argument and then you to immediately go into attacking him personally, I'm sorry. You lost. You've already lost. Why the fuck should I listen to this when you're totally coming into this debate with fucking bad faith towards your opponent? What?
No, he's a brilliant lawyer.
You saw your picture with Maxwell. He's got leverage on you.
He's a brilliant lawyer.
Are you saying that because he's got leverage on you?
I met Ghislaine Maxwell for 5 minutes at a book launch.
You look very happy.
Dude. Wow. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of surprised that Piers even entertained this shit.
Well, I didn't know anything about her at the time, other than she was the daughter of the man that...
We're talking about the biggest sexual scandal in the last 100 years.
Who I never met Jeffrey Epstein or ever knew him.
Dude, and you could probably find some people in your fucking little circle that you've congregated with that aren't exactly great people. What the fuck? What argument is this?
Alan Dershowitz was wrongly accused of various things in relation to Jeffrey Epstein.
How do you know it's wrongly?
Because they've all been...
Why are you defending him?
They all turned out to be nonsense. He won a court case about it.
Why are you not looking at me when I'm speaking to you?
Well, I can turn to you, but there are three of us involved in this.
Yeah, you're speaking to me, so
okay, let me make things clear. Yeah. I never met Jeffrey Epstein. I met Ghislaine Maxwell for 5 minutes.
Yeah, you look very happy in that picture.
Okay, if you want to use that as an ad hominem attack on me,
why are you defending him?
Hang on, a picture taken in 2013.
He spoke for 3 minutes, I spoke for 20 seconds.
I'm defending him because your first attack...
Dude, this what the hell? yeah, you spoke for 20 seconds because instead of actually addressing the argument or any of the points or offering any counterpoints, you went directly for, oh, why should I even entertain this when he's, the ex-lawyer for Jeffrey Epstein?
Attack on him is to attack him as a lawyer because he defends bad people.
That's fine.
Here's a little secret for you, Mohammed. All lawyers do that.
No, but hold on, we're not talking about bad people. We're talking about, excuse me, you've had enough speaking. I'm talking about a person who, after the fact, said that he was proud to defend him after the allegations come out. You still want to? Do you condemn Dershowitz
for what?
For defending Epstein
I have defended,
and being proud of defending Epstein.
Some of the best,
it's not for me to
I
defend
have
him.
defended some
All
of
I
the
can
best
tell you
people
is
in the world.
Okay.
Okay,
In any other debate, if the merit of this debate started by talking about, Jeffrey Epstein or, the people that you associate with, fine. But
I need to defend yourself.
from my understanding, this was to discuss, Israel and Hamas and
why should he defend himself?
Mandela.
How can he defend himself for 20 seconds?
Alan can defend himself.
But let me speak for more than 20 seconds. I haven't even made my point yet.
I helped to defend
It's a
Bill
2-on-1 now, is
Clinton.
it?
I've helped to defend some of the finest people in the
Yeah,
world,
well,
and I've also helped
John
to defend
Lennon,
some of the
he
worst.
defended. Is
I
that
never
a terrible
justified.
crime?
He was not proud
I've never
of defending John
justified
Lennon in the same way as he
anything
announced that he was
any of
proud
my
of
clients have
defending
done. I am
Epstein.
What's this got to
proud
do
of
with
my
Israel?
role as a
This has got
defense
to do with the
lawyer.
fact.
that's honestly what I'm asking. And for anybody that's like, bring up the Epstein points. He's not winning anything here.
That this
Just
man,
like-
the credibility
just
of
like
this man is on
John
the line.
Adams was
He defends
proud to
Israel on the one
defend
hand,
the
and on the
people-
other hand, he defends Epstein. I think the public should know this.
Do you want me to
And that
play?
he's
Do you
proud.
want me to play the clips?
He's proud
do
of
you want
it.
me, Mohammed, do you want me to play the clips of you
And I don't
that
know.
do the rounds
I
on
don't.
social media?
That's what I was just bringing up. I bet that there are some fucking clips of him with somebody that's less than, fucking,
Saying some very
I can't even fucking think.
No
inflammatory
problem.
things. Do you want me to?
Why are you not looking at me?
Because I'm looking
Why
at
are
the
you
three of
not
us.
looking at me? I'm right
I can
here.
turn to you, and the viewers see me and you
Look
looking
at me
us.
man to man.
Fine,
Look
I'll
at me
turn
man
to
to
you.
man. Look at
I'm sorry, dude. Do you not know how this whole TV thing
my
works?
eyes.
Yes, it's called
When
an
I'm speaking
aesthetic
to
thing
you.
for videos.
Okay, now the first thing I wanted to say was that this man's credibility is something which is shocking. That is we're even
This guy's kind of an asshole.
What do you
entertaining
base it on?
on the fact that he actually defended Epstein, and after the fact, he said he was proud of it. He was in Epstein's vicinity. He had a massage in his vicinity. This is the kind of person that we're having on the show defending Israel. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is, in the first interaction where me and you were talking about
I feel like this should have been reserved for the end of the debate if it was going poorly for him, or I don't know, man. I just kind of feel like this was
October the 7th,
That was kind of
we
a
spent about
weak-
3 or 4 minutes
weak move there.
actually talking about sexual assault allegations, if you remember that. And actually here, what we have is Israeli soldiers like Mir from Unit 100, and that's on The Guardian, it's on Sky News, it's on all these kinds of platforms, coming out, and there's videographic evidence of him raping another man. I haven't heard condemnation from you, and I don't expect to hear it from him who defended Epstein. Well, this shows you the bias in the coverage for a year, where we know the ICJ have said that there's a plausible genocide.
You haven't been watching my show.
I think I have.
No, you haven't.
Have you spoken about
You're
me?
talking complete bullshit.
Okay, tell me why.
Right?
Tell me why.
Because A, I did condemn what you've just talked
Yeah,
about
yeah.
in a previous debate.
Good.
Right?
Dershowitz, do you condemn it?
Yes, of course. I condemn any rape of anybody and any assault on anybody who's in captivity.
And
Of
you
course
also
I do.
condemn
And
the
I don't
right
defend-
of rape,
I don't
the right of rape
defend-
protest that took place in Israel. And you acknowledge that there's a
If
problem
any
in Israel
rapes
with
took
this.
place, they will be investigated. They will be fully investigated. They will be
you acknowledge that
court-martialed.
there's a problem
And
in
if
Israeli
anybody
society?
is convicted of that, they
What is this fucking debate style like here? Like ask him the most pointed question like right off the beginning and then just rail off your points?
deserve their
Do you
punishment. I
acknowledge
don't
that there's a
defend
problem in
What about the
Rape.
problem with Hamas
Sure.
raping women?
I have no
On
compunction.
October the 7th.
I have no compunction. Condemn.
How are we supposed to know that? I don't even really know who the fuck you are. But based off how you just fucking came off, how the fuck am I supposed to know that?
Hamas for anything that they've done. You've said that. You've asked me before, and I've told you before. I have no moral scruple. Neither do the majority of the Muslim world. I tell you.
You can't apply that same generosity to the fucking people that you're debating with?
You now, anything that Hamas has done, we have condemned in the first instance.
How the fuck am I supposed to listen to you when you came off like such a fucking prick?
But we're not seeing the same level of coverage with Hamas as we are seeing with these people that are shoving rods up people's ass and raping people on videographic evidence. And you have 3,000 people, you talk about the hostages, you've got 3,000 people in essentially captivity, according to Human Rights Watch and B'Tselem, who are prisoners of war of Israel. And we're spending a fraction of the time speaking about them.
Your point would have been better made, and I would probably care a little bit more if you didn't come into this with literally the worst faith arguments I've heard in a long fucking time to start with.
Compared to speaking about the hostages.
That's fucked
This shows
up.
you the inherent
Well,
bias.
there's no comparison. There's no comparison between innocent hostages who did nothing wrong and people who are being charged with criminal offenses.
They're
If
not charged with
innocent,
criminal
they'll be
offenses.
found
That's why you're meant to know better. You're
And
meant to know
but
better
they
than
are
that.
charged
They're
with
not charged
security
with criminal
offenses.
offenses.
But you
They're not
can't.
charged with
You
criminal
can't
offenses.
compare.
They are
You can't
arrested
compare
without
a three-year-
charge.
You can't
They are
compare a
arrested without
three-year-old
charge. They're not
baby.
charged with criminal
Don't
offenses.
shout
You
over
can't
each other. We can't hear the answer.
He's
can't
lying to the
compare a
public.
Allow
three-year-old
him to
baby
respond.
Go
to
ahead.
somebody who's a member of Hamas.
Say that
Sorry,
again.
Adam, we couldn't hear because he was shouting.
I was shouting. Say it
Alan,
again.
he says the 3,000.
saying you can't compare
Alan, he
a
says the
3-year-old
3,000.
baby.
Alan, just to be clear, he said the 3,000 people he's talking about were all arrested without charge, and therefore they've not been charged with crimes. Your response to that?
Well, if they were, they should be released. Nobody should be arrested
Good
without
boy.
charge. If you're
Good
held
boy.
for
Don't
be
security
so
reason
pathetic.
I will
during
say
the
what I
war,
want.
Dude,
Sunset.
yeah, you're being a real fucking dickhead, dude. Like, I get it. Alan Dershowitz is a reprehensible human being. You knew that coming on, but you're not doing yourself any favors by doing this condescending, good boy. Oh, you're a good dog, aren't you? You're a good dog. Oh, you, this Jeffrey Epstein dog. Why did you even agree to come on and debate him if you're not going to debate his points or actually engage in the argument? You're just yelling shit about Jeffrey Epstein at him, about your preconceived notions of what he already believes, and then you just go on your little tirade about you won't condemn this, you won't condemn this, and then immediately when you have the same argument brought against you, you're just like, that's not the same.
That's a
Great.
good boy.
Let me finish, please.
Pathetic.
Let me make my
Boy.
point.
Try and have a
Can I
proper
make my
debate.
point,
I'll say
please?
what I like.
Can I make my point? Let me make my point. Great Britain can find tens of thousands of people.
I mean, if this guy's supposed to be a fucking academic, I'm sorry. You're never going to learn anything about actually arguing, or debating anything, because this guy is just shouting at you. He's exactly what's wrong with the fucking world right now, where it's like, I just don't like what you say. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Without charges during the Second World War.
Two wrongs
the
don't
United
make a
States
right.
did the same.
Two wrongs don't
I
make a right.
was
Let's talk about what
strongly
Hitler done.
opposed.
Let's talk about what
Please
Hitler
let
done.
me make my point.
Literally, I mean, you were shouting, I've only been speaking for 20 seconds. I've only been speaking for 20
I'm
seconds.
opposed to that. I wrote an article against
Good boy.
administrative detention.
And then you're condescending about when he actually does give you an answer. Again, the fact that I'm playing devil's advocate for fucking Alan Dershowitz bothers the shit out of me, but holy fuck, you are not exactly what I would call a good representative for these arguments.
But you
Good.
can't compare that, no
Good.
matter how
Can you
bad
stop
it
this,
is.
Mohammed? It's
You
very
can't
cheap,
compare
very-
Dude,
it.
seriously, Mehdi Hassan and Low Key were so much better. This guy, if you're gonna put your support and all of your this guy, because I was literally seeing some this guy bodies Alan Dershowitz and blah blah blah. He's not bodying anybody; he's bodying himself.
To 3-year-olds being
Debate it.
kidnapped, to people
listening to
being
his points.
raped and murdered. You can't compare what happened on October 7th to what Israel has done
Yes, you
in
can't,
terms
because
of
on the one
security
hand,
prisoners.
you've got
There's
30,000
no
people on the other hand,
comparison
you've
at
got about
all.
100.
And stop
That's
interrupting
30
me,
times
please.
more. That's 30 times more. If you want us to take you seriously, if you want us to take this coverage seriously, if you want us to take Western media seriously, then let's, for God's sake, talk about proportionality as your favorite word. We're talking about 30,000 people detained in prisons on the one hand, and 100 people who are hostages. And yet we have managed somehow to spend way more time
Hang on,
proportionally.
you said 3,000 a minute ago. Which one is it? 3,000?
Sorry, 3,000. 3,000.
It's not
30,000.
30,000.
Not 30.
Okay, well,
3,000.
get your numbers right if you're going to make that comment.
Okay, I misspoke.
Exaggerated
Not a problem.
No, you don't get that. You don't get that generosity because you wouldn't give that to anybody else. See, that's how that fucking works.
Times.
Is that not a problem?
This is this is the whole problem of being that way and then just expecting that same cordiality.
He spoke about Iran. Let me ask you a question.
I'll tell you
about
what, let me ask the question.
Sure, go
and
ahead.
you guys try and
Go
debate
ahead,
it.
go
At the
ahead.
moment, Alan Dershowitz.
Wow. Dude, I never thought I would be literally pushed into just being like, wow, Piers Morgan is actually a good moderator and you're being a dick to Alan Dershowitz.
He's being very civilized in the way he's debating.
I'm sure he's going to...
He is, though. That's the problem here. It just objectively watching this, I don't care. Take away the actual subject matter. Literally, you could take all the words out of this just based on their behaviors, and you can make monkey noises if you need to. You got two people that are calmly and concisely explaining their points. This guy is losing his fucking mind right from the beginning, and then also coming super aggressively at his debate. I'll call him his debate partner in this.
You're just making
He might have
ad
leverage
hominem
on you.
attacks and shouting all the
He's your
time.
friend.
No one can understand it when you
Have you
shout.
met him
all the time.
before?
I know Alan well.
Oh, you know him well.
I respect him very much.
Oh, yes, you do.
He's one of America's top lawyers.
He's top lawyers.
Yeah, he is.
This guy is a fucking prick.
You're an unbiased person here on
An
Central.
unbiased person about Alan Dershowitz. Why?
Does he have leverage on you, Piers Morgan?
There's no leverage on me, no.
You've got a picture with Maxwell.
Yes, we can lay
Did you go to the island?
No, I've never been to the island. I've never met Jeffrey Epstein.
Be honest.
I never spent more than 5 minutes with
Be
Ghislaine
honest.
Maxwell. I've answered you. So what part of that wants you?
Is this part of the YouTube thing where it's just like you think that you're so much more you're so much better geared. I can't even fucking get my point. Sorry. This is so frustrating. You're better geared for the debate just because you're like, well, I am on an independent platform and I automatically don't have anybody to answer to.
You condemn him being on the island. He's your good friend.
You can ask
No, I'm
him
asking you to condemn him.
about Jeffrey Epstein.
You had a massage.
He represented him.
He said he didn't take his shorts off.
Do you know what?
That's
None of
that's
this
he
has got
said.
anything to do with Israel.
He said he didn't take his shorts off when he was getting a
Can you
massage.
please, Mohammed.
Why is this uncomfortable?
It's nothing to do with the debate.
He didn't take his shorts off, but he's got his pants down now, hasn't he?
Can you stop it?
Why?
What's the point?
Why? He defended one of the most obnoxious people in the last 100 years. Why should I
Because
stop it?
actually what is going on right
Yeah, the thing is, you're coming off as one of the most obnoxious people in the last 100 years just by like how you're portraying yourself. Again, you're not winning anybody new over with your argument here just by doing it this way. I'm sorry that he's probably right. He's probably completely right in all of his points, but the way that he's coming across and the way that he's portraying his argument has automatically lost him any fucking winning points here. He's not going to break through to the centrists. He's not going to break through to anybody that actually matters that we want to try and get on our side unless we're just going to keep speaking to the fucking leftist echo chamber and just constantly keep beating our heads against the same fucking walls and never getting anything done and just getting more people fucking killed.
Why should I stop it?
in the Middle East is incredibly important.
Yes,
You're
and you have this man who's-
you are trivializing that. Well, if you didn't want to do a debate, don't agree to do it.
Who said I'm not doing a debate? I'm saying this.
Honestly, he has every right to fucking kick you off the show right now because you're not engaging in any of the debate points. You're just literally pontificating about your bullshit about just like, I prepared all this because these were the gotchas. The second that I saw that I got an interview with Alan Dershowitz.
Person who's
Come on,
defending Israel.
Stupid ad hominem attacks is pathetic.
Oh,
It is.
okay. All right, he's your good friend. You want to defend him so much.
What are you talking about?
You're defending him.
Again, if people were to apply ad hominem attacks to you, how would you fucking feel if you constantly just have to defend the not the points that you're here to defend, but just whatever arbitrary bullshit they're arguing about? Because even with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, what does that have to do with the actual the argument between about Israel and what's going on with Lebanon?
You're defending him. You're defending a monster. Pervert, an old pervert.
He's not a pervert or a monster.
Why is he not? He knew Epstein, and for us, there's good influence.
Why are you doing this, Mohammed?
Why not?
Well, technically, can't you say the same just about, you know what? Yeah, we could probably say the same about, I don't know, what happened in that Islamic country after we what was that? The Afghanistan and the Taliban had taken away women's rights and fucking A.
Because it's pointless. You might get a few clicks
ask
on.
your questions.
You might get a
Ask
few
your
clicks
questions.
on it. So what?
It's not.
Ask your questions.
Let me be very clear. It's not pointless. He just called me a pervert. He will be sued now for defamation, and we will be able to resolve this
opinion.
in a court of law. I guarantee you that he will be sued.
In
for
my
calling me
understanding, you are a pervert
The woman
because
who
you are
falsely
acquainted with
accused
Jeffrey
me
Epstein.
has now
You didn't say allegedly. You just said in my understanding.
withdrawn her
Sure, I've got my own defamation
accusation
cases. I know the
and
law very well here.
acknowledged that
You
she
can't
may
threaten
have
me. You can't
confused me
threaten
with
me. I know the
somebody
law very
else,
well.
and
I
calling me
consider
a
you to be a
pervert
pervert
will
because of your
result
connection with
in
Jeffrey
a
Epstein.
defamation lawsuit
Sure,
in
I'm
an
ready for
American
it.
court
I'm
and in a
ready.
British
I'm ready
court.
for the
I
lawsuit.
assure you of that.
I believe
Let's
you
move
are
on
an
to
old
Israel
pervert.
now.
Then we move on
We'll
to the
resolve
debate.
this in
You're an old
court.
pervert.
Let's move on to
You're a pervert.
Israel.
It's really. This is. Is there any point considering this?
Do you want to throw the towel?
No. What's the point?
Do you want
I'm
to
not
throw
doing the
the
debate.
Again, you're not. Do you want to throw in the towel just because I came on here, called this guy a dirtbag fucking pervert and didn't get any of my points across and just was a blatant fucking aggressive asshole?
You were booked to do.
Do you want to both throw the towel?
You were not booked to
you wanna
talk
give
about
up?
this.
Do you wanna give up?
Let's debate the issues.
Let's talk about the
Yeah.
issues. Let's talk about
come on,
Iran.
then.
Let's talk about Iran.
Let's talk about Iran.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
You support Iran?
Okay, well, let me answer your question. Iran was attacked on April the 1st, right? It was attacked, the embassy of Iran was attacked in Syria by Israel. After that...
Look at that. We're finally actually arguing some points. Are you guys mad that I paused it?
On the first occasion, they then sent missiles and drones, correct? Now, my question to you is, does Iran have a right to defend itself? And if so, what is a proportionate response? Because you see, I've been having a moral quandary about the issue. Piers Morgan, what's a proportionate response for Iran?
I'll tell you what I think about Iran. I think Iran is an unbelievably nefarious place which has been fueling Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah for many years with a joint joint ideology that they want to eradicate Israel.
Does Israel have the right to defend itself? If you keep playing this fucking cyclical game, then you're all gonna just be dead. Okay? Is that what we want? Just nuclear fucking waste? Like, or nuclear fucking...
Any way they can.
Okay.
I think Iran is one of the most despicable regimes in the world. I also think that right now, the Iranian regime is in serious danger.
You look completely discombobulated.
What do you mean?
You look disheveled.
I'm telling you what I think of Iran.
I'm asking you, do they have a right to defend themselves? Do you think they have a right to defend themselves? Both of you can answer the question. Do they have a right to defend? They were attacked. The sovereign nation was attacked.
If this is how he debates shit, for real, like, what's the point of even having him be part of things?
My question is, does it have a right to defend?
Iran has been fueling...
Okay, if you listen to his YouTube show, great.
It's not the question
on Israel now for what?
He doesn't engage.
I've been having a moral quandary about Iran.
Have you?
Yeah, moral quandary, yes. Moral quandary, I don't know. Do they have a right to defend themselves? And if so, what is the proportionate
You're
response?
supporting Iran, to be clear.
I'm asking you. No,
Are you supporting Iran?
I'm not supporting. I'm antithetical to many of these.
Is that his whole thing? Is just make himself as punchable as possible?
Organizations for my own purposes. But my
what
question
the
is,
Do you support the Iranian regime?
If someone was acting like this in front of you, you would want to hit them very, very fucking badly.
But I support their right.
What conditions do you agree with them about?
Their right to defend themselves. Do you believe they have a right to defend themselves?
No, you think they're terrorists.
Oh, so they don't have a right to defend themselves? Iran does not have a right to defend itself.
They do, but they're not the ones.
So what is proportionate response?
They're not the ones.
What's the proportionate response? Okay. No,
can I answer it?
You asked this question to the
You're
people.
just going to keep talking. Can I answer it?
What's the proportionate response?
The proportionate response to Iran is to stop them trying to destroy Israel through their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. That's what they've been trying to do for many years.
What is a proportionate response of Iran after their embassy was smashed and destroyed in Syria and 16 people were killed? What's the proportionate response?
Well, what about the proportionate response to everything Iran's done?
Which is against the Vienna Conventions.
What about...
Hold on. All right, I'm back. We had a solicitor. I just love them.
What about the response to everything Iran has been doing?
What did Iran do to Israel? Who did they kill? Who did they?
They never killed anybody.
Who did they?
Excuse
me. Hold on. Which Israeli civilian have Iran successfully targeted? Give me one name.
You don't think Iran's been responsible for any Israeli civilian dying?
I'm asking you to edify
What about
me.
the way they funded Hamas?
You can both edify me.
1,200 people in Israel.
Iran in particular. I'm talking about Hamas. We've spoken about Hamas at length. We're talking about Iran.
We're
talking about Iran's old news. You're talking about
Let's let Alan respond.
Yes, go ahead. Who did they successfully target?
Well, let me respond.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Dude, the fact that he so confidently just said there, we've already spoken about Hamas at length. Wait, no, you really haven't. You spoke way more about Alan Dershowitz and him being a pervert and the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. You really haven't let them talk about the Israel-Hamas situation or Lebanon or any of that. And then when you finally did get to it, you just do this shit where you uncomfortably sit there with your glass of water. Like, dude, talk about a crutch. Like, he's sitting there just like, and he's so like smug about it too. Like, could you imagine having an argument with somebody like this at a bar? Would you still engage with them if they were acting like this man?
The Iranians have been found by an Argentine court to have been guilty of killing hundreds of Israeli and Jewish people in Buenos Aires. They killed Marines through Hezbollah. They were combatants. But the attack on the Israeli Cultural Center, attack on the Israeli embassy, were attacks, according to the Argentinian judicial proceedings,
Yeah, his problem here is he's already thinking about his retort. He's not listening to anything that Alan Dershowitz is saying.
On Israel, entitling Israel to engage in response. Now, let me explain what proportionality means, because you're missing the point. Proportionality doesn't require that a country that's attack back in proportion. Proportionality only means that if you're going to attack a mixed target that has civilians and combatants, the ratio of civilians to combatants must be proportional to the military value of the target. And that's what Israel has been trying to do. But Iran has killed thousands and thousands of Israeli and Jewish civilians over the years. So to defend somehow Iran and saying that they were innocent, even the people who were killed, in the embassy were combatants.
Ask yourself that, dude.
combatants who were legitimately
Can you hear me or
killed
not?
as combatants.
What's an acceptable ratio for you?
So Iran has no right of self-defense against
what
that.
is an
Israel was
acceptable-
completely
Right, first of all,
entitled
let me
to
answer-
kill.
let me answer what you just
finish.
said. Let me answer-
Israel was
Okay, go
entitled to kill any combatant that was hiding in an embassy building. That's
Hold on. You've just conflated two things. You've spoken about the Argentinian case, which there is not actual an independent international investigation on, number one. And then you've spoken about, we speak about 1st of April. Was that response to Argentina? It was not response to Argentina. When on the 1st of April, they bombed the Iranian embassy in Syria, they did not do so. They said that is a military base and that we're attacking. But we all know that in this country, for example, every single embassy has military attachés. They have military attachés. So if you go to the US embassy here in London, they have armed officers. Does that make it a viable target? Does it make the US embassy a viable target? The Russian embassy a viable target? This is clearly against the UN Convention. It's against the Vienna Convention. You cannot attack. You cannot attack an embassy of another nation in another sovereign land. You cannot do that. And
so let me respond. Let me respond to
Yeah, he's got a point there.
that.
Hold on.
Let him answer.
Let me respond
No,
to that.
That good point.
Let me respond.
It's been
it was
pretty
not
easy.
an embassy. It was an ancillary building being used as a military center to plan attacks against Israel. They used the
What's the evidence
pretext
for that?
of it being a building
What's the evidence for that?
somehow attached
What's the evidence
to
for
an
that?
embassy. The evidence is very clear.
Which is?
And be happy to have them bring a lawsuit
What's the
and
evidence?
see if it
Bring
can be
the evidence.
resolved in a court of law.
No. He's got you on this one.
But Israel was entitled.
He's got Alan on this one. If you're gonna use that, then you got to have the evidence to kind of back it up.
To regard who was killed. The people who were killed were military people who were planning attacks on
No,
Israel
that's not true. There were
using an
civilians that were
annex
also
to a
killed. There were
building to
civilians that
do
were
it.
also killed.
Did that
That's not
justify
true.
3,000 rockets being sent into Israel
Hold on. Let
and
me
then
respond.
180
Okay, have you spoken now?
ballistic missiles
Have you
being
made your
sent
points?
into Israel?
Have
No,
you made
of
your
course
points?
not.
Well, if you were listening to him, you would actually you might have actually gone like, okay, I see your point. Now let me make mine. Instead of just ramping yourself up for your next counterfactual. Like, dude, this is the part about debates that I can't fucking stand. I can't stand people like this because they don't want to have a debate. They just want to be right. That's not why you go into a debate. At least not why I go into one. I tend to go into my debates trying to learn things because, number one, I admit that I don't know everything. Weird, right? I know. For a fucking YouTuber, it is a very odd thing to have one of them just go, hey, guys, guess what? I don't know everything. I'm not the maxed out scholar that you all think I am. Like, dude, this is why Vosh and Destiny, they have that attitude of just like, well, I took a poli-sci class and I'm the authority on everything politics now, instead of just looking at like how everybody else can, actually just interact with the system and just fucking, I can't even fucking make these points because I'm honest to God so annoyed with this motherfucker. But
Okay. The response is as follows. First of all, 16 people were killed officially, and of them, there were 2 civilians that were killed. So what you're saying is only military targets is flatly false, squarely false, barefaced lie. You're a liar, as you were a liar when you were defending Epstein. That's number one. Number two is, when you say that, okay, that was a response. When Iran then, on the 14th of April, responded with missiles, once again, how many casualties were there? How many casualties were there? 0. Just like there were 0 casualties when they responded recently in October. Not one person died except for one Palestinian, ironically enough, that was apparently killed in the October one. But in the April one, no one died. It was precise strikes at military bases. Number 2, you speak about this being a base. As I say now, if you look at Collins' dictionary right now, there's 2 aspects of what is a military base, vernacularly speaking. Number 1 is that there has to be weapons in that place, and number 2, that there has to be training of soldiers. This is usually understood as what is a military base.
That's just made up. Those are made up stories. There's no truth to that at all.
What's made up? Which part
There's
of it's
no
made up?
truth to that.
Let him respond.
The fact that you need
You just made a
weapons.
statement.
No,
He's
let me
saying
finish.
it's wrong.
No, let me finish.
for it to be a
what I'm saying. Let me
military
finish what I'm
base.
saying.
you were, again, ain't that weird how you want this respect, but you're not willing to give it?
That's just made up. You don't need
Hold on.
weapons to have a military base. It could be a
okay.
command center
Hold on,
where they're planning attacks.
Let me finish.
That's just made up.
Let me finish. If we
The more
take
you say,
this-
the happier I am.
Okay. What I'm saying to you is that if you look at almost every Western government embassy in the West and outside of the West, they have military attachés. You can fact check this. You can go online. You will see in the US embassy, in the French embassy, in the British embassy, military guards, people there that have their own weapons and guns. So according to you, that would be a military base. So are they then legitimate targets?
What happened in this
Are they
case
then
was
legitimate-
they
Can
used
we
an
then
annex of a
contravene-
building
Can we then
as a
contravene the
military
Vienna
base.
agreements? Can we then conventions. Can we
you
then?
don't know what
can
you're
we
talking
then,
about. You have
Okay,
no
hold on.
knowledge of international law or diplomacy law, the law of
You
war.
haven't got
so
one
please.
peer-reviewed. You don't have one peer-reviewed work on international law. And Jimmy Carter, the former U.S. president, said you have no knowledge of Palestine. Don't speak to me about Palestine issues. Jimmy Carter,
Well,
a former president of the United States, as you acknowledge, you've written it in your book. He says that you have no knowledge of the Palestine issue. Jimmy Carter said that. Don't speak to me.
Well,
like
you
that.
want to hear something?
Yeah,
It
the
was
only
in
thing you
my
have
book.
knowledge
In
about is
fact,
where the
it was in
doors
the
and
back-
the rooms and the masseuses
It was in the
are.
back
and-
cover. It was the
and
back
that's
cover of my
fantastic.
book.
Sake.
That's what you have knowledge of.
Honestly, see that like right here, what Piers is going through, and what he just for fuck's sake, like that's how a lot of people just respond to hearing about this. Okay,
Written
like
13
or
books.
hearing
Did you touch
him go at it this way. He's
13
Did you touch
books
her?
on Israel.
Did you touch Virginia?
Some of which
Did
have
you
been-
touch her? Did you touch that woman?
Never heard of her. Never met her. Never met her.
Don't lie.
Never.
Don't lie to me. Did you touch that woman or not?
I'm telling you, I never met her, and she acknowledged
Did you
in
touch that
writing,
woman?
under oath,
Did you
that she
sexually
may
assault her?
have
You
have no
confused
knowledge
me
of
with
his case,
someone
do you?
else.
You wouldn't be
I'm
saying
asking him a
it.
question.
You're repeating
So-
it.
Why are you
Serious
defending him?
defamation.
Can you not leverage
Because he
over
won
it?
a case. It was proven to be lies.
I'm asking him a
Why are
question.
you doing this?
I'm asking him a question.
This is
I'm
not
asking him a
about
question.
Israel.
This is
You're trying to be a
credibility
clever
of this
dick, but what you're
individual.
doing is inviting a lawsuit from Anna, which you will get.
I'm ready for it.
You are?
Yeah.
Really?
I've got 4 defamation
Good.
cases, all of which
Good.
your friend Douglas Murray, I'm taking him to court.
Well, good luck with taking on Anna on this, is all I would
I'm
say
ready
to
for
you.
him. Oh, you love him, don't you?
No, he just won cases.
I just wonder what he has.
Defending himself.
I just wonder what leverage he has. Does he have any
it's so weird to just see Pearson be like, I feel for him right now because honestly, how do you respond any other fucking way than, dude, can you just stop being a dick for fucking 5 seconds?
leverage on
God,
you?
this is pathetic, man.
I don't know why'd you keep defending
He's
him.
now
you-
accusing
Hey, I think you're out of water.
Being
No,
like
that's
this all
not
week on the show. Why are you doing it
He's a
now?
Morgan.
monster.
Right.
This man is a monster.
Well, why debate then?
Because I don't mind debating monsters, just like you don't mind debating monsters. We have
What's gonna happen when he's out of water?
that in common.
Do you want to finish the debate about the bigger picture or not?
I'm speaking about it. You guys are the ones rattled. I'm not
No
rattled.
one's rattled. We just think it's
You're
pathetic.
both rattled.
We think it's pathetic because you don't understand what you're talking about.
Really, that's just an assertion, really, isn't it?
No, you're just trying to get your clicks on X, and that's fine.
Oh, isn't that what you
nothing
do?
you'll-
Is anything wrong with that?
No, you know what? Try and debate the issue.
You always brag about it, my
Try
friend.
and debate
You
the
brag about
issue.
it myself. We've got 1 million views, 2 million views. You talk about it all the time.
Alan, let me ask you something, which is about what Israel is doing. At the heart of it, if you take the belief that Iran
God, his insecurity is so fucking just like, it's just his whole aura is insecurity right
is
now.
the main target here, a lot of Israelis believe that Iran is really rattled and that Israel has a genuine opportunity to topple this regime. Do you think that is a likely eventuality? Is it a thing that Israel should be pushing to do?
I think if Israel has the military capacity to destroy Iran's nuclear abilities to create a nuclear arsenal and can do it with minimum civilian casualties, the way it did it in Iraq and the way it did it in Syria, it ought to do that. But if it risks a wider war, then obviously it has to take into account other considerations and the opinions of the United States. So it's largely a military question. Israel certainly has the right to destroy Iran's nuclear capacity. Rafsanjani, the former president of Iran, said if Iran developed nuclear weapons, they would use them against Israel, kill 3 million Israelis. Israel's a one-bomb state. That would be the end of Israel. And even if Israel retaliated and killed 10 million Muslims in Tehran, the trade-off would be worth it. No country should ever accept that kind of a threat. The United States wouldn't. They didn't in the Cuban Missile Crisis, and Israel shouldn't as well. But it's a military decision, and I'm not competent to resolve whether Israel has the capacity to destroy Iran's nuclear ability without too many civilian casualties.
Okay, Mohammed, do you
That's
think
a military question.
Mohammed, do you think Hezbollah are terrorists or freedom fighters?
I have an antithetical view to Hezbollah, and that's been well documented in the record. However,
What's your view? I don't know.
Well, I tell you one thing. I'm not going to be baited into a sectarian.
Dude, just answer the fucking question, dude. Stop expecting everybody to have a fucking historical knowledge of your past.
debate
I
here
was
on
asking you to
Facebook.
comment about Hezbollah.
Sure, I don't necessarily I have an antithetical view to Hezbollah. However, on this
What do you
case,
mean?
what I mean by that is that I don't necessarily support them in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
However, because of
Then just say no.
How do you categorize them?
What
I
the fuck?
categorize Hezbollah in their response to Israel as justified in that response.
And in the response for Assad in Syria
Clearly,
against
then-
fellow Arabs?
yeah. Well, you and I both know that I have an antithetical view. I don't think that they were on the right side of history. Then I do think they were acting in
They were terrorists then?
Well, I mean, it depends on how. I think the word terrorism is a social construct. I
What
think the
were they?
biggest-
What were they when they fought for Assad? against Arabs?
oppressive, and that's on the record. There's no doubt about it. You can call whatever you want, but the
So
word,
they were all the things.
Did it sow the seeds of terror in the general populace to be afraid of a certain people? That's fucking terrorism,
that
douchebag.
you would say Israel is.
Fuck.
When they were doing the thing with Bashar al-Assad. That is, of course, my
Want
view.
to wax semantic and then just be like, yeah, I don't know.
They're only that thing when they're doing that. When they're
fuck?
attacking Israel, that's fine.
When they attacked Israel,
When they're attacking Arabs on behalf of Bashar al-Assad,
but that shows consistency.
No, hang on.
Doesn't that show consistency?
No.
Why not?
It doesn't show consistency.
It shows consistency.
The inconsistency is that you think that was bad, but when they're attacking Israel,
Okay,
that's fine.
Let's respond.
Yeah,
On the 8th of October, you mentioned many times before in your interviews that they attacked Israel.
Yes.
They attacked Israel, right?
They did.
That's not true.
They did.
They attacked the Sheba Farms, which is occupied territory.
Which Israel has claimed as its own since 1967.
Wait a minute.
Which Israel,
occupied territory.
Which Israel has claimed as its own
See, this
since
shows,
1967.
this shows your lack of knowledge on the matter. It
Well,
does. It shows-
No, this is where, no, honestly, if you weren't such a dick, this would be a good education moment for Piers. But I don't think he owes you any fucking charity with the way that you've been presenting yourself. And I'm just going to say that,
Well, I just said
man.
it's not true.
Like, his debate is over. It's already over. It ended fucking 6 minutes in.
claimed it as their own since 67.
Hold on. This is occupied territory. According to the UN, according to the US, it's occupied territory.
I just said Israel have claimed it as
So
its own.
what? They can claim. I can claim what I want. ISIS have made many claims.
So, given
Wait, hold
Israel...
on. Whatever Israel claims is true.
Well, no, and actually, going to Low Key's point about Ukraine and Russia and Piers Morgan would apply that same logic to Russia and Ukraine. So why he can't apply that same logic to the occupied lands? That bothers the crap out of me. Where he's just like, yeah, well, I mean, they claimed it was theirs.
That what we want to believe.
no,
in?
Hezbollah has fired beyond the Sheba farms.
Now, let me explain.
Hezbollah
The
has
Sheba
fired into
farms.
Israeli cities.
Hold on.
Israel
hold on,
has
Dershowitz, I haven't
fired
finished
into
yet.
Haifa.
Yeah, they're all assholes in my book.
Dershowitz, I haven't finished yet. On the 8th of, you talked about the 8th of October. When they fired on the 8th of October, they fired, and you can go ahead and bring evidence that they fired anywhere else other than the Sheba farms. They fired on the Sheba farms. After that, there was response from Israel. And then after that, because there was response of Israel into Lebanon, then Hezbollah attacked the northern part of Israel. This is what happened. And that is justified according to international law. So on this issue, you will not find differences between Sunnis and Shias. You will not find differences in us. We are all united in the hatred of the Zionist entity.
All right, Alan, your response to that?
Well, Hezbollah has been firing rockets at Israel for years and years under the auspices of Iran. Israel has fought back and responded. And Nasrallah has called for all the Jews of the world to be brought together into Israel so that they can be taken care of at the same time in the way that Hitler took care of the Jews of Europe. This is a genocidal claim by Nasrallah on behalf of Hezbollah. And certainly Israel had the right to respond to Hezbollah as they did. And, you can quarrel with particular responses as you can quarrel with particular responses of any country. What the United States did after 9/11 was seen by many as an overreaction. Countries react when their civilians are murdered the way they were on.
We definitely did, but that's also where I think I come at this with a level of understanding where I'm like, no, I totally remember feeling that way. I was in high school, like I was debating going into the military. I had many friends go into the military, specifically radicalized from 9/11.
On 9/11 and the way they were on October 7th. And Israel had the right to respond. The United States and the world said so. And Hamas could end all the suffering in Gaza instantaneously by simply releasing the hostages and putting down their arms.
Oh, bullshit. Fuck you. No. Yeah, okay, Alan. Sure, because Bibi Netanyahu's been so trustworthy on that. Come on.
And calling for a genuine peace.
I'm going to call you out. You're coming, like, that's fucking...
Rather than a tactical ceasefire that just allows them to rearm and repeat October 7th. Remember, they said they would repeat October 7th over and over and over and over again. And as Elie Wiesel once said, always believe the threats of your enemies more than the promises of your friends. And so Israel has to act
Okay, let me bring
on
back
the assumption
Mohammed. I want to
that
ask Mohammed
Hamas is going to try to do this again and again.
Okay, Mohammed,
we've listened.
Mohammed, you've said so far, unless I'm wrong, you don't support Hamas, you don't support Hezbollah. So there's probably more bits of agreement here with Alan Dershowitz and me than you might like to admit if you don't support those two groups.
Okay, so I don't see what that's got to do with anything. We were
Just a
talking,
great- just
we
an
were talking about.
observation.
We were talking about.
I said at the start I wanted to find points of agreement.
Sure.
Honestly, yeah. He's... A lot of people, they will shit on Piers for that, and they'll shit on a lot of people for that because, again, centrism. But this is just how debates should be run, where you find a common ground and then you kind of go off of that instead of just trying to hammer your point so fucking hard that you like did you really think you were going to come into this, say those things to Alan Dershowitz and Piers Morgan, and you were going to be rewarded for it? Or you were going to totally own them and shift the narrative?
Can we all agree that Hamas and Hezbollah are a bad thing?
I can agree that white man,
Just say fucking yes.
the white man, the Western man, has tried to use social constructs like
Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. Fuck off.
terrorism to try and
Seriously. That's the bullshit that I'm so fucking sick of.
absolve themselves from all the
I know,
things that
white
they
guy
would like
getting
to-
fucking mad
Hamas
about
and
that,
Hezbollah.
but
Well, I mean, just like any human being. Just like any human being, they can sometimes be oppressive and they can sometimes be on the right side of history.
Most human beings do not do what Hamas did on October the 7th.
Well, in the Zionist entity, they do. And they do worse
They
than that.
don't.
They don't.
Israel's never committed an atrocity on that scale.
On what scale?
On that scale.
Explain. On what scale?
Killing 1,200 people.
They've
in
killed
one-
40,000.
Sorry, in one day, massacring
They've killed 40,000.
Israelis could get their
Wait, hold
hands
on.
on.
not a good point, Pierce.
Hold on.
Kidnapping
You lost
children,
that one.
September, what
kidnapping
happened?
Holocaust
On the
survivors,
20th, we're talking about October
raping and
7th.
abusing women, beheading people. Oh, you don't think that happened, do
Well,
you?
hold on. You just said raping and abusing. We just started
Yes.
the show with an admission that
Yeah.
there's a problem in Israeli society, that there was
I'm talking about Hamas.
Yeah, but you just said Israel doesn't
We
do
both condemned what you talked about earlier in
that. So
relation
why are
to
you saying Israel don't do that? What's wrong with you?
I didn't say that.
You
He
just
didn't
said
say that.
now.
No, I didn't.
No, he
You
didn't
said
say
Israel
that.
doesn't
He
do
did
it,
not
and you
say
listed
that.
3 or 4 things, and that was one of the things that you just
No, I
listed.
said Israel had never...
Am I speaking a foreign tongue?
Sorry, listen to what I'm saying. I said Israel never...
No, that honestly, listen, this is part of your fucking debate style, and you've been doing it this entire fucking time. Calm down and listen.
perpetrated an atrocity on that scale.
Okay, on
in
the
one
23rd of-
day
on the-
against the people
How many
of the
civilians?
Palestine-
How many
of
civilians?
Palestine.
Shut the fuck up!
They never have.
Wait, hold on. How many civilians died on October the 7th?
Civilians about 800.
Oh, sure. All right.
But hang
Well,
on.
hold on.
But nearly 7,000 more were wounded.
Sure.
7,000
What happened on the 23rd
more
of September?
were wounded.
What happened on the 23rd of September?
7,000.
Okay, sure.
Think about that number.
Okay, no problem.
That's the
23rd
scale of people who
23rd
were attacked on that
Are we
day.
talking over each other? It's 2-on-1 now.
8,000 people were attacked.
No problem. On the 23rd of
It's 2-on-1. Alan wasn't talking, so all right, victim complex much?
One of the most horrendous terror attacks
this gonna be a monologue
in
or is it a
modern
dialogue?
history. I'm telling you some facts.
I know the facts.
You may not like it, but I'm telling you them.
Okay, I'm telling you, on the 23rd of September, Israel attacked Lebanon. How many people died? How many civilians died, according to the Lebanese health, the Ministry of Health?
I believe it's about 2,000 was the last recorded number I saw.
No, in one day. On the 23rd of September. by
including combatants, including many
itself. No,
combatants.
on
They
the
haven't-
No, they actually said a lot. Most of them were civilians.
23rd, how many died?
That's even
How
on
many
there,
died?
like
Why don't
on.
we have
We don't know how
year
many
commemorating
civilians
the
died.
No, even the IDF was saying that it was civilians, dude.
23rd of a year commemorating the 23rd of September. Since we're having a year commemorating the 7th of October, and about 600 people died, 650 people, civilians died on that day. That's quite close, isn't it?
We don't know they're
8,000.
civilians. They don't
8,000?
distinguish between
8,000
civilians and
people were
combatants.
attacked.
We're not talking about attack, we're talking about dead. What's wrong with you? Why are you not looking at me again? You're crying. Are you crying?
Because the viewers are seeing the three of us together.
I see that
Ahmed.
there's tears in your eyes.
There are no tears in my eyes.
What's going on?
There's a slight sense of exasperation.
Sure, there should be. Because you are
Sorry, dude. I mean, you really are just a lot.
employing.
What do you think?
I mean, even if what you're saying has merit, you're not the right fucking conduit, dude. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you can listen to this, then maybe you are just extreme enough, but fuck, to my centrist ass, this motherfucker comes across like a
I
blowhard.
think I am.
I think you said it yourself with your interview with Mehdi Hassan. I think you're just biased. You talked about tribes.
Who am I biased against?
You're biased against anything anti-Western. Clearly, you said
What a ridiculous statement.
because you said it yourself. You said the reason why you have such and such a view with Russia.
You
And
go-
Yeah, and you're biased for fucking Eastern Islam is Eastern Islamicism. Well, okay.
biased when I led the media campaign
Whatever.
against the Iraq War.
no, I think you
Was I biased
I admit that I failed on that one.
against
You were
brown
good.
people?
You were-
then?
you were good then.
Was I?
You were- like I
oh,
said-
But no, like, you understand what I am saying. Like, he's totally biased towards, like, you know, Islamic culture. He's totally biased. Like, again, sitting here calling one person's bias out without admitting your own doesn't win you
good
anything.
then, because you agree with me.
Sure, because
Yeah.
you're on the side of truth. Just like I could say Hezbollah was not on the side of truth in 2013, but they're on the side of truth today. I can say this, and even though they're Muslims just like me, just like I can say that Hamas is wrong for doing such and such a thing, but they're right on such and such a thing. I can say all these things. You should be able to do the same thing.
What have Hamas been right about?
resisting because they're the occupied territory. If they had just attacked,
they were
military
given
targets,
billions of dollars in 2005.
Okay.
When they took charge of the.
Have they got a right to defend themselves?
Hang on.
Against military
When
targets?
they took charge of the Palestinian people and had power from 2005, they got billions of dollars. And what they did with that money was spend it on tunnels, which they built around civilians.
Sure, so what?
So that they could then launch a horrendous terror attack.
Okay.
And they knew when Israel came after them.
About the terror attack.
Hang on.
You're
When Israel,
flogging a dead horse.
when Israel then came after them after October the 7th, they knew, because they'd embedded themselves on the tunnels around civilians,
you're flogging a
that
dead
a
horse.
lot of Palestinians would get slaughtered in the process.
My question
and that's exactly what's happened.
My question to you, does Palestine have a right to defend itself? Does Hamas have a right to defend itself exclusively against military targets?
Everybody has the right to defend themselves.
So Hamas can do that against military targets?
What they did on October 7th is not self-defense. It was a terror attack.
Hold on.
Is that saying Al-Qaeda?
That's
saying
not my
Al-Qaeda
question.
had the right to
But
do
that's not
September.
We both agreed that the civilian death is something we should both condemn. Yeah? We're talking about areas of agreement. You just said it yourself. I'm saying now, do you agree that Hamas has the right, because they're an occupied territory, Gaza is an occupied territory, according to the UK, by the way, they're an occupied territory because of effective military control. According to the UK,
they ended their occupation in 2005.
No, hold on. You're meant to be intelligent. You're meant to know this fact. According to the UK government, according to the US government, and you can check it up online, and according to the UN, all three organizations, Gaza is an occupied territory because there is no, because they have control over the borders, they have control of the population.
But I've said this many times.
So sure, you agree with it. You said it recently.
Let me give you the
I've said many
facts.
times.
Let me give you the facts. Let me give you the facts, please. Can I give you the facts?
Yes, you can respond.
Let me give you the facts.
Yeah.
Okay, the facts are in 2005, I was there in Israel when the Israeli government.
Are you sure you were not in Epstein's house?
Uprooted every single civilian, every single dead person who was buried there. Not a single soldier, not a single policeman was in Gaza. Gaza could have become the most beautiful spot on the Mediterranean, Singapore on the Mediterranean. Then Hamas engaged in a military coup in which they murdered members of the Palestinian Authority, took over Gaza, and started sending rockets into Israel. It was only then that Israel began to control the borders and make sure that tunnels couldn't be built. They failed in that respect, that weapons couldn't be brought in. Gaza was not an occupied territory. It was a free territory between 2005 and the time that Hamas took over. And so
is it occupied now or not?
All
is it
lies
occupied now? According to you, is it occupied now?
Creating a territory
is Gaza an occupied territory right now or is it not?
Imprisoned.
He's not answering my question.
It's not an occupied territory.
It's not. Okay. Is it an occupied territory according to the UN, the UK, and the US? Yes or no? It's a factual statement.
Not the U.S. The U.S. doesn't agree with that. You're wrong about that. The US doesn't agree with that.
That's why you've had to plagiarize books in order to make your case from John Peters
and what are you saying again? Say that again.
You've had to plagiarize books because you're clearly your knowledge on this issue.
Well, now we have another.
Man, I wouldn't. I mean, listen. By all means, go ahead. But if Alan Dershowitz does actually sue him and win, I'll understand it and just be like, well, there's a way to debate and a way not to debate. And what you're doing is maybe, just maybe, start using the word allegedly.
It's ridiculous. According to the US,
now we have
Gaza,
count,
the West Bank, and East Jerusalem
wait a minute. We have another count in the
territory.
lawsuit against you. You've accused me of plagiarism, even though Harvard University conducted a thorough and complete study, totally vindicated me, and blamed it on Finkelstein, who then lost tenure for making a false charge against me of plagiarism. But you're repeating that charge. Count two.
No problem.
Piers is like, honestly, dude, I kind of want to write it up for him.
That's according to Norman Finkelstein, who debated you on Democracy Now! You plagiarized that book, and he showed you evidence in that debate. That's one thing. The second thing is,
Harvard University did a thorough study, found out that Finkelstein had made false charges. As a result, he lost his position as a professor. But you've accused me of plagiarism. Count two in the civil
I'm ready.
case that I will be filing against you.
I know defamation laws in this country.
More than you know.
Yes, I do, because I've had 4 cases. I've had 4 cases. And moreover, and I've been the person taking the other person.
Yeah, have you won them, or are they still being litigated, dumbass?
Including your
honestly
good friend Douglas Murray, which I've got 2 cases against him. But what I'll tell you
this
is
guy is so
that
fucking
you
frustrating.
know nothing about defamation law, just like you have nothing, no information, no knowledge, no peer review.
As a human being, this guy is a fundamentally frustrated person.
Because if you're saying to me,
55 books. I've written 55 books, many of them prize-winning books.
You're not an authority in international law. Are you an authority in international law?
And I have won defamation
Shut the fuck up!
cases.
Are you a scholarly authority in international law?
All right, we're going around the houses. Alan, let me ask you this. One of the many problems I have with what Israel's been doing in terms of the scale of what it's been doing, but also what has been going on the West Bank with the increased settlements, very aggressive expansion of settlements, I think is completely outrageous.
I agree.
But once again, you said before,
we all agree on that.
Yeah, we can.
Well,
I am opposed to Israel's policies on the West Bank. I think Israel.
Oops. Took away all your ammunition to fucking for your next argument. It's like he just fucking dismantled your fucking clip and was just like, oops, he John Wicked your ass.
Israel should continue a military occupation of the West Bank, just like I thought it should have continued a military occupation of Gaza. But I'm opposed and have been opposed to civilian settlements since 1967. Said, right? And I'd...
Yeah, I mean, I did, and that was fucked up. Where it's like, wait, so you support the military going and taking over, but civilians, it's a bridge too far.
I'd like to see them ended in a process that leads to a two-state solution. By the way, I'm curious whether my fellow guest here...
A two-state solution where they're just able to take the land that they want?
...supports the right of Israel to exist as the nation-state of the Jewish people alongside a Palestinian state. Do you agree that Israel has the right to exist as the nation-state of the Jewish people? Yes or no?
I think it's a viable option. In 2002, not just... Hamas agreed to this, by the way, in what's called the Arab Initiative. The Arab
Convention. They didn't.
Hold on, you've just asked me a question. You've asked me a question. You can check me. You can fact check me. In 2002, there was something called the Arab Convention. And in fact, Iran itself was part of it, even though it's not an Arab country, but it was part of the 2002 Arab Convention. And they both said, so long as Israel does not occupy Gaza, it does not occupy the Golan Heights, and it does not occupy the West Bank, which you just advocated for, then there can be a two-state solution. Even Hezbollah mentioned
false.
the same thing.
That's totally
Hezbollah
false.
mentioned this point.
That's totally false.
Hezbollah mentioned this, and Iran agreed with it. And members of the IOC agreed with it. Hold on. Members of the IOC...
Have they recently recognized Israel's right to exist? Has Iran recognized Israel's right to exist? Now. I'm not talking about 10 years ago. I'm talking about now. Does Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran recognize Israel's right to exist as the nation-state of the Jewish people?
Alan, let me ask you the other thing that I find really difficult, and Thomas Friedman wrote a very good column for the New York Times today, which I read just before we started this, basically saying that Israel seems to have no plan for what happens after this. And in fact, the UAE, who've normalized relations with Israel, has already offered to go into Gaza at the end of this war, in Gaza, and to help build a coalition to rebuild Gaza and get the people back on track.
I agree.
But Netanyahu is refusing to countenance that. He's refusing to countenance the idea of a two-state solution. You know, I've said for a while, I think Netanyahu is becoming a massive problem in this. And it's also hard, as Thomas Friedman said, to avoid the conclusion that Netanyahu is acting in self-interest. Because the more he's been attacking Hezbollah, the more popular he's grown. Secondly, he has these corruption charges awaiting him the moment this is all over. There's no incentive actually for him right now to try and bring peace anywhere. And he doesn't really sound like a man who wants to bring peace anywhere.
No, and he's literally antagonizing the Western world.
He didn't accept it in 2002.
Let Alan respond to that.
Why should he respond twice?
I'm asking Alan.
He did, because he wasn't talking to you. And honestly, he was kind of putting Alan on blast there, but
I would like to see a resolution of Gaza, much like the resolution of Nazi Germany after the Second World War, a Marshall Plan, an effort to rebuild it, an attempt to occupy. What happened in Germany was occupied by 4 countries: France, Russia, Britain, and the United States. I would like to see a rebuilding of Gaza. I think the people of Gaza are entitled to a Hamas-free government, perhaps even a democratic government. I would like to see that on the West Bank. I am a strong supporter of a two-state solution in which Israel can live in peace. That's all Israel has ever wanted since 1948, when it was attacked in a genocidal war. 1967, 1973. All Israel wants to do is live in peace. And if Israel can live in peace with a Palestinian neighbor that's peaceful, that would be my
What is wrong with
dream.
that? What is wrong with that as an ambition?
Well, he said all Israel wants to do is live in peace. And I think what Israel wants to do is have pieces of other people's land. And as he's just agreed a second ago, and you didn't even challenge him on it, which I find quite incredulous actually, is that he said, I think that the West Bank should have military occupying Israel should be military occupying the West Bank. He says that.
Absolutely.
Now, occupation.
Of course, as long as there's belligerency, there should be an occupation.
Why are you interrupting me? I've let you speak for a very long time. I've let you speak for a very long time. Now you're interrupting me. I didn't give you permission to interrupt me.
Such a baby.
I didn't give you permission to
get a diaper change, you like you're out of water, by the way.
Interrupt me in this manner. What I'm saying to you is, according to international law, there cannot be occupation of one sovereign nation over another. It doesn't seem like you care about international law. What do you mean? Yeah.
Wrong. No, you're just wrong.
Okay, just be quiet for a second.
United States occupied Japan. United States occupied Germany. Great Britain occupied Germany. You can have a military occupation as long as there is belligerency that continues.
And be quiet for a second. Pretend I'm Epstein, your former friend, and be quiet and listen to what I have to say. Yeah?
Dude, you're such a bad faith actor.
Whether the United States of America
You really are. You're just such a dick.
did it or not is not an indication of the...
Yeah, sorry, guys. If you think, honestly, that he's winning over anybody with these arguments and he's going to bring, the normies to realize, hey, maybe we should not support Zionism or any of this shit. You think his demeanor's doing him any fucking favors? And then you're going to say, oh, well, what he's saying isn't wrong. Yeah, that's part of the problem. He's literally diluting his message just in being a dick.
The legality of something. Occupation
It's legal.
Occupation is by
Military occupation is legal while belligerency continues.
Okay.
That's the
Are you
law.
going to be quiet? I've let you speak for about 3 or 4 minutes.
Come on.
He asked you 2 questions, and I've stayed quiet. Are you okay? I'm saying that military occupation of one sovereign nation over another is not something that international law accepts because it contravenes the
False. False. You're false.
So give me the evidence to the contrary. I'm waiting for it.
It's clear that
What's clear?
every
Let
country
him
that has
respond.
had
You
a
asked him a
war
question, then
has occupied the losing country
It's false. Okay, say it. Well, here it
until belligerency is over. Once belligerency is over, as it was in Germany and Japan, 2 or 3
That's
years
all
after
he's
the war,
doing.
the occupation ended.
So why is it
that's
that-
what
if
happens.
you're saying-
Military
okay.
occupation is permissible as long as there's
that's
belligerency.
incorrect. If what you're
Civilian
saying-
occupation
if
is
what
not.
if what you're saying is true, why have the organs of the United Nations condemned the occupation of Israel? Why? The ICC,
They have condemned the civilian aspects of the occupation. They have condemned
Wait,
the
hold on, hold
building.
No. They condemned pretty much you guys invading the West Bank in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, go ahead. Just rewrite history. That's fine.
Which I also condemn.
What
I'm
you're
talking about
saying
a
is
military
flat,
occupation
you're lying just like you
designed to
had
keep
to
the
when you
peace.
defended the...
Stop it.
Stop with the Epstein shit, you motherfucker. Honestly, I'm over it. I'm over it. It's not the winning point you think it is, dude. Like, why did you agree to come on here and debate Alan Dershowitz if that's all you have? Seriously, because you haven't made any other points that have any merit outside of, oh, this guy's a pervert. He partied with Jeffrey Epstein. Why would I listen to him?
For goodness sake.
Why?
It's pathetic.
Why?
It is.
Why is it pathetic?
Attacking lawyers for defending people is so pathetic.
Being proud
It
of
is.
yeah.
It is
Of all the
pathetic.
minimum
dude.
attacks
Wait a
you could
minute.
use.
No, it's pathetic. It's not. It does nothing for your argument, and it has absolutely no merit to this debate. Why even continue to constantly push on it?
He's the least
What do you
effective
think of Epstein?
and the most embarrassing.
You're defending him too much
I
today.
think Epstein was a disgusting human being.
So he's proud of defending him. Do you condemn him for that?
Well, I just don't care. I'm talking about Israel.
Oh, you don't care now, but why is it disgusting?
I'm talking
proud of
about
defending the
Israel and the
Constitution.
Middle East.
Okay, so let's go back to the point. He was just...
This is so weird. Because Alan Dershowitz really is the biggest fucking dirtbag. And he's not necessarily wrong about this shit. It's his fucking demeanor.
advocating occupying the West Bank, Israel occupying the West Bank. We got to the point where he was saying that's acceptable. I'm saying that if that's acceptable from an international law perspective, then you would expect the ICC and the ICJ and these organs of the United Nations to agree with him on that assessment. They have not agreed with him on that assessment. No, even the United Kingdom doesn't agree with him on that assessment. The national position on the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank is that it's illegal. It's effective military control. So you don't know what you are talking about. And if that was possible, if it's okay for one nation, a sovereign nation, to go ahead and occupy another one, then sorry to say, Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine, the same thing.
There you
the
go.
same
So
argument
what you're
can be made.
saying, your position is that when a country is attacked and it wins the war, it must leave the next day. No country has ever done that. You continue the military occupation until all belligerency ends.
Many of the conventions that were put in place
once
were put
all
in place
belligerency
afterwards.
ends in the
But hold
Gaza
on,
Strip,
you asked me a question.
the occupation
You asked me a-
should end.
Okay.
There should not be civilian
So it's
settlements.
a fallacy,
But there should
and
be
you-
a
and this is the-
military attempt to control
Are you going to
belligerency.
let?
That's the
You
law.
asked me your position, and then you've.
Well, he tried to
misquoted.
answer you, but once again, you shouted over him. So
Do you
people
agree
can't
with
hear the
him?
answer.
Wait a minute, do you agree with him?
What about whether I agree with him or
you
not?
agree with him?
Let the man
Why are you
answer
running
your
away from
question.
this?
Honestly, that's exactly where I've been at this entire time. It's not that I agree with Alan Dershowitz. It's not that I agree with him necessarily. It's the fact that I'm just fucking over here, and I just can't believe how belligerent this guy is and how he is acting like he's the victim for not being heard when he's being an abrasive dickhead.
Do you agree with the
You ask a
legitimacy
question
of
and you
occupation?
shout over the answer.
Is it okay for one country to occupy another sovereign nation? Is it okay?
Do you know what is okay? I've had
yes
enough
or no?
of this. I'm
Yeah,
done.
I mean,
I'm exhausted. I need a break. I need a cup of tea. Alan, thank you for your patience. I asked you to have a
My
civilized
pleasure.
debate. You tried,
Thank you for being
extreme
fair.
provocation,
Of course.
on a very personal and ill-informed way. You have managed to be civilized. Mohammed,
I'm
wish
sure
you
you're
could
going to say
the
that.
same.
He's your friend. He's a good friend.
I appreciate
I like
that.
Alan. I respect Alan.
I'm sure you do.
And you, Mohammed, let yourself down today. That's
I
okay.
think
yeah,
yourself
he
down.
really
I'm sure the
did.
people that follow you on
He's a monster.
are cheering you on.
He's a monster.
No, he's not.
He's not. Okay.
No, he's not.
Okay, he defended a monster. You agree
The
with
only
that?
person who's behaved
Did he defend the
only
monster?
person who's behaved in a monstrous way in this debate.
Okay, whatever. That's
is
your
you.
opinion. That's
is
your opinion.
you.
You've given up this debate.
No, I've actually
You've
run out of
thrown
time. We're
I
only 2.5
defended the
minutes over
Constitution,
time.
and I will
As you know,
continue
you
to
were
do
booked
so.
till 5 o'clock. It is 5:03.
I didn't even know
We've
that.
actually run out of time.
Fantastic.
But we've also booked to debate something that you've rarely spent much time on debating because you were far too busy scoring personal cheap little jibes, ill-informed
Whatever,
jibes.
whatever.
at the other
You do-
person in many
it's
ways.
good-
No,
It's nice
I actually agree with Pierce's assessment on this. He didn't do, like, again, outside of getting his little, like, that was a fair point, getting the little sound bites for X and shit, and then he's just smugly just over here like, what do you mean?
I always think
What's good for the goose, you can't handle it. You can dish it out, but you can't take it. You've got a weak chin.
I can take anything, son.
You've got a heavy
But let me
punch,
tell
but a
you,
weak jaw.
I always think when people get
Glass
personal
jaw.
and abusive like
You
you
and
have,
him.
it's because they can't.
You're not doing. If you guys think that this is how you win a debate by just blah 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 blah,
Argue the argument.
You're both weak.
They can't argue the argument.
Whatever.
he's got
But you
you.
can't win an
You
argument the
can't
normal way
fucking
of debating.
argue
You
the
say, well,
fucking
what's that?
merits of your
Attacks,
point, so you go on
personal
personal
issues. That's what you've
attacks.
done
I think
from
you've
the
given
moment
up on
this
this
started.
I said this at the very beginning of this when he started with that shit. I'm like, this is like basic high school debate fucking prep. But no, we're just gonna fucking ignore that just because dude is like, he's on my side. I'm just gonna ignore everything that anybody else has to say just because I agree with this guy and be, even though he's an asshole. And even though he's not making my points he's not making my points palatable for the general populace, I'm still going to be like, yeah, he owned him. He totally owned him. Instead of looking at this for what it is, he owned himself. And honestly, if I ever see this guy on anything, immediately I'm going to be like, oh, well, this is going to be very unproductive.
And you let yourself down, Mohammed.
I think you have both given
You
up
let
because you
yourself down.
realised that what you were spewing was false, and
Yeah.
you were talking about the pager attack, and you said about it that was an act of military brilliance. I'm sure if it happened here in Sainsbury's and a little white boy was killed, you wouldn't say that, would you?
You know what? Like
You've
I
also
said,
let down
run
the
away from that question
Palestinian
too.
people. You've
We're
also
done.
let down the Palestinian
he
people.
has let down the
Oh,
Palestinian
sure,
people.
whatever.
I agree.
I think
agree.
you both let yourself down. I think you both given up.
Okay.
And I think the standing 10 count has been done, and I think the white towel has been thrown in.
Yeah.
And I think the people can judge what I've done today.
He just Donald Trumped this argument. I totally won. I talked the most. I totally won.
You know what? On that, I think we can all agree. People can watch your
agree.
performance
I
in the
agree.
last hour,
Let
and they
the
can
people
judge
judge.
accordingly.
Yep.
And let me tell you, Mohammed, they will. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming in. Alan, thank you very much
Honestly,
indeed.
Thank you.
I hate to, dude, like this guy put me in a real tough spot where I'm like, yeah, I really don't agree with Alan Dershowitz on anything. I've always hated that guy. Like, what the fuck? Especially in the last 10 years, it's been pretty like, not exactly the hottest take to have, especially on the left to go, oh, I hate Alan Dershowitz. But holy fucking shit, dude. Like, wait, I hate to say it and to repeat what Piers said, but he did let himself down. He let the Palestinian people down. The whole argument he let down. That was not the person to have in that debate at that moment, because honestly, that was, dude, it was so off-putting. Oh, what a time to lose an internet connection. I was in the middle of my little rant and just boom. Well, anyway, to finish my point, I really do think that Mohammed kind of came into this just he had his prepared statements and everything that he wanted to hammer on Dershowitz, where I don't want to pretend like I knew the pretext to the debate. I don't know what the agreements were, but the way that Alan Dershowitz was coming at it at the very beginning, he laid out a pretty concise argument for his point of view. But then again, Mohammed, within the very first minute, the very first 60 seconds, he just personal attack, ad hominem, personal attack. It was everything that I've learned not to do in a debate. So that's why I'm a little off put by this one, because again, I have read some articles from Mohammed, and I've also watched a few of his I don't want to call them TikToks, the shorts. I've watched a few, I've watched his content, and he has a good message. He honestly has a pretty decent delivery. That's why I was kind of like, oh, this will be really good. And I really thought that he would hammer Dershowitz on actual substance, in the arguments. Again, he did it a few times, but it was already kind of lost in the sauce I've been saying, but it was because he was already just such a standoffish dick that how the fuck was anybody ever supposed to go, yeah, I could see that point. Even for the audience, like it was getting uncomfortable for me where I was kind of like, man, I got physically exhausted listening to this. And that's why I was kind of like, I definitely had a few moments where I got angry just listening to him. Like I definitely matched the energy that was being put out there. And I'm like, oh, wow, that like, no wonder I don't like even listening to these types of debates because realistically, again, this goes back to like debate bro kind of shit. I always hated debates where it was just, you had to be right. Vosh and Destiny are the kings of those, where it's just like they think they're so right that there's just never any capitulation. It's always them trying to make their opponent see their point and like never agreeing on anything that their opponent says. You know, they do the Donald Trump thing. Never give an inch, never admit that you lost. You see what happens there? But I thought Piers was actually like incredibly fair, and man, he let that go for a long time. But also seeing it cut up at the very beginning, like the way that they cut up the clips, you can tell that he was very happy with what he got out of this. So he got the clips, that's for sure. But man, that was kind of rough to watch, but I'm sorry if I said some disagreeable stuff. But number one, if we don't agree on everything, that should be okay. And honestly, that's one of my biggest problems with American discourse online specifically is for some reason, everybody can just go, I disagree with him on this point. Unsubscribe. I never want to hear you again. Unless, I mean, if I have enough bad takes, fine. I mean, Anna Kasparian is a good example of enough bad takes will kind of lose you a fan base. So, but honestly, I was kind of like, oh, I want to agree with him, but for anybody to just, go and say, I agree with Mohammed entirely, and I agree with the way that he conducted himself in that interview, then I don't know what to tell you. Then apparently you're one of those types of people that you just can never have an argument, a debate with, any of that, because it's always your point of view or the fucking highway. So yeah. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, definitely leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you took away from it, because honestly, the fact that I had to play devil's advocate for fucking Alan Dershowitz really sucked. I feel dirty. Like, ew. Like I really fucking, yeah. But again, I don't agree with the way that Mohammed conducted himself. I'm sorry. Like that was, especially on a debate platform like Piers Morgan, because I just saw it the entire time, the way he was holding his water. It's like his insecurity was just so out there. But anyway, as I was saying, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Trying to get to 1,000. I have a few more Piers debates where I did the one with Loki, and I also did the one with Mehdi Hassan. So check those out. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.